I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, November the 15th, brought to you in part by the Night Latch Group, officing from Laverne, Oklahoma to Lubbock, Texas. They can pretty much help you with all your ag risk hedging, guys. They sell the LRPs. The LGMs are kind of their specialty there, the livestock gross margin policies, where they can show you how you can hedge the risk of your corn and your cattle with one easy policy there, and they're professionals at it. Sell the PRF, lack of rainfall policies there, and crop insurance, guys. So anything that you might need for your ag risk, get a hold of them at nightlatch.net. Calf market regaining confidence in a big way here as we get to the middle of the week. We're seeing that your calf orders are coming right back. We're starting to see your calf prices, especially on steers, get very near to the levels that we had like 3 weeks ago before the bearish cattle on feed report and the board started taking the rug out from under the market there. But we're especially seeing big gains in your out front feeder months. And that's what your LRPs hinge on. Those target prices are getting back up there close to those handsome levels. I mean, they fell a bunch there on several different sessions, but we're gaining it in leaps and bounds, $1.50 to $2.50 about every day or so. And they're starting to get up there where some of these stalker buyers feel comfortable taking those prices and then getting some orders in, getting their cattle bought, and going on down the line. And you say, oh no, LRPs, that's what caused this last deal. Yes, the LRPs, the sheer numbers of LRPs that are being taken out, and it's more than ever before, and then your insurance companies that's selling them offsetting their risk by shorting your board, that was part of what happened last week. But it just goes to show you how many people are using the LRPs, and if you're not using them, you're out in the cold, guys, because they are an excellent way to hedge your risk buying these high dollar stalker cattle right here. And even if you're going to turn your own calves out, you can dally up to the big market there and don't get left out in the cold if something should happen and everything goes away. But they're still a very valuable asset, and you sure need to be looking at them if you're not already. But your grazing demand is out of this world right now. Now, we normally like to turn wheat cattle out today. November the 15th is turnout day for most leased wheat pastures. And November 15th, and then you keep them on there till April the 15th. But a lot of that wheat is not quite ready yet. Especially where it's wet and it's real tender there, they might stomp more of it out and pull more of it up than what they eat. So a lot of times it's going to be another week or two, or maybe into next month, before they get to turn anything out on that wheat. But it's high time to get to buying them, guys. And because it's such a short window between when they're getting them bought and when they're wanting to turn them out, because those days of wheat, that's kind of like your Flint Hills grass. There's just not that many days on there that are nice, and when they got plenty of wheat and there's no weather, and they've got to make the most of those days, because you can get some really good cheap gains out of that wheat pasture there. And so they're wanting to buy the cattle that are pretty much ready to turn out. And we've seen that at both your big central Oklahoma sales this week already, is that all your calves were cheaper except for your lightweight steers weighing under 5.5 that have had all their shots and have been long time weaned, because even if you're not the best cowboy in the world, you can still turn those cattle out if you have confidence in who you bought them from, or the consigners there, and you can kind of doctor those on the wheat. Now, some of those high risk cattle that have not been weaned or short weaned and haven't had all their shots, you're going to have to keep them up in a starter yard for at least 30 days before you can turn them out with any confidence. And so you're starting to see people pay a lot more. And I mean a big wide, you know, $40, $50, $100 difference in price there on those lighter weight steers that have been long time weaned, had their shots. And I told you back a couple months ago that this fall we would see a bigger gap than we had ever seen in cattle that had been worked and cattle that had not. But, you know, and you get by with it a lot of times, and I've had people tell me, oh, I sold my cattle right off the cow and they brought this big price. That's fantastic. And I understand for a lot of you that don't have the facilities or the know-how or the time or the help, it might be a better deal. But you got to look and see what those producers that are doing all that extra work, see how they're getting along, and really be truthful in your comparison there. But I'm Dan Hill, a market reporter, federal state market reporter from Missouri, that I had the opportunity to train. He had a lot of skills when he came, but as far as market reporting, I trained him. He had a statement in his market report from West Plains, Missouri that I thought was fitting, and decided to put it in my report too. He said, health concerns on calves are a bigger issue for the buyers than volatile futures. These calf buyers, yeah, they see what's going on over here with the futures market. They're mostly filling orders, and they're concentrated on the health of these calves, whether or not they've been weaned, how long they've been weaned, what shots they've had, when they had the shots, and the like, trying to do a good job for their customers. And so you're really seeing that. The yearling deal is kind of quiet. True yearlings, although they are well demanded, the big calves are pressuring them. Big calves are where you see the biggest hit in the market, and that's where we see the cheapest prices in comparison to what they were before the market kind of fell out there 3 weeks ago, as we saw the market really come off on your big calves. Big calves, I'm talking about weighing in the 6s and up in the 6s pretty good, even into the 7s. They're really too big to turn out on wheat. They're not really prepared to go into a commercial feedlot. You've got to buy them, put them in a growing yard, take very good care of them, keep them there, and you can buy them so much cheaper than the true yearlings that they're just kind of hurting the market on the true yearling cattle, even though they really want the true yearlings. But there's very few yearlings coming off grass anywhere, because it just you don't see that this late in the year very often. So most of the true yearlings that you see are backgrounded, meaning that they've been in some type of a lot, growing yard, and they've been eating a ration. And likely when you buy them and send them to the feedlot, they're not going to like the new ration as well as they like the old ration. It's kind of like trying to put feeding cattle back on feed. It takes a little bit to get them rolling again. And you could have a little bit of trouble there with acidosis. You could have a little bit of trouble there with them, you know, getting used to the new lot and going off feed for a little bit. But you know, your calf prices, like I was telling you, they're starting to come around really well, and calves are selling good in most all your sale barn markets around. Those red baldies, I told you we're going to have a big string of them at Beaver County stockyards. The steers on them come in, and they weighed from 540 to 565. They sold them in several different bunches there, but they all had a similar weight. Very good quality, weighing right in that 5.5 range, and they bring from 290 to 292. So that's a very handsome price for those calves there, and I'm glad that they sold well, even after the market kind of took a big dip there. But we haven't checked in on our fake meat for a while. Beyond Meat, the best known of our fake meat companies, their revenue fell 9% in the third quarter, and I sure hate to hear that. I know you guys are going to be upset about it too. They came in with third quarter revenue of $75.3 million. They were expecting $86.5 million, and it was all due to disappointing sales, mostly in the U.S. People over in Europe are embracing this plant-based product a lot better than they are in the U.S., and they were complaining that the real meat industry in the United States, and hopefully some of its analysts, are putting the message out that this fake stuff is not nearly as healthy, which it's not, and that it really doesn't do anything to help the environment, which it doesn't. And so they were telling, they don't like the meat industry telling people the truth about this fake plant-based meat, but they're forcing to have to cut employees. They're going to cut 19% of their workforce out there in California at the headquarters of Beyond Meat. That's about 65 employees there. But tell you what, the bad things can't happen often enough to those fake meat people out there. But don't let this make you think that this has gone away. We're just now starting to get to this cell culture meat. Excuse me. And we've seen JBS make a significant investment in research and development recently of the cell cultured fake meat. And we have seen a big investment from Tyson recently looking at a meat alternative of insects. So that they're the ones pouring the money into this. They're the ones pushing this. They know that eventually it's going to come to more of this, and people are going to accept it to a certain point, and they want to be there to keep their percentage of the protein share. So just think about that, guys, and don't ever let somebody that doesn't understand the truth about fake meat, don't let them get away without telling them. Let's talk about your board. On Tuesday, December live cattle futures were up 92 cents at 175.85. February up $1.62 at 176.87. Your back months were all up from $1.02 to $1.37 on live cattle. So good gains there, trying to get back what we lost there last week. November feeder cattle down 67. That's just because we're getting towards the end of the month, and it's got to meet up with your CME cash feeder cattle index, and it has dropped down there kind of where it ought to be, close to where it ought to be, and so it's having to back into that space. Not much play in the November contract, so I don't want you to be concerned about it being down 67 cents, but it closed at 230.05. January feeder cattle up 70 at 229 even, and your back months were all up big from $1.30 to 232. December corn up a penny at 478.25. November beans up 3/4 cents at 1368 3/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December up or down 1 3/4 cents at 639 3/4. Your fat cattle market, we haven't seen it do anything in the country yet. We did see confirmed sales on Tuesday in Iowa, only 200 head sold at 178. But also heard through the grapevine and rumors from a pretty dependable rumor mill there that there was some 180 paid by regionals in the Midwest there and in the Northern Plains, or at least bid to. But that 180 would be steady, and I think we're going to get steady money. I'm not sure how many of our cattle feeders are going to sell it steady, but I think we'll see steady money this week. Stockman's livestock market in Yankton, South Dakota, they had 1,700 head in overnight, 2,400 head of finished cattle for their sale on Tuesday. It was the same sale I was at last week, and was sure glad to get to go there. But the market was lower. Your packers did not tip their hand how hungry they are. Conventional cattle sold from 175 to 180, 150. And you think, well, that's as good as they sold in the country last week. Well, yeah, it was, but it's $3 lower than last week's auction. The program cattle, non-implanted or drug-free, sold from 178.5 to 184.50. That was $1 to $3 lower. A lot of the cattle that were a little bit lighter, it didn't appear to have quite as much finish. A lot of them were going back to feed. There's a lot of cattle feeders around there that pick around on those kind of cattle. Two-way cattle, they call them, and some of those sold up to 190, so those guys still have a good idea that this fat cattle market is going to come back. but overall the offering was not as attractive as the last 2 or 3 weeks there. Told to me by Gary Marks, who gives us some good information out of there just about every week. Box beef cutout values were lower on Tuesday afternoon. Choice cuts down 218 at 295.67. Selects down $1.36 at 267.88. Your slaughter, 251,000 through the first 2 days of the week, is not bad. It's 4,000 better than the same point last week, just 5,000 less than the same point a year ago. But if you're looking for fast and efficient cattle financing, and I know a lot of you are, and dependable cattle financing, check out Legend Bank. They got a couple old boys in there in North Texas that know what's going on. Greg Brooks and Ricky Taylor. They have made Legend Bank the largest cattle financer in North Texas, but they can help you in all of Texas and all of Oklahoma. If you guys are interested, get a hold of them. Don't forget that Legend Bank is a member of FDIC. All loans are subject to credit approval, and they are an equal housing lender. For more information, go to legend.bank. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 226.22, down $1.11. So I've told you that's a 7-day moving average. We're continuing to go lower, but I think we're starting to get to the point where last week our markets really fell out of bed. So we should start seeing the ship get a little more level there on our RTI there. I am glad to see that the CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index is getting down where it belongs. It's 228.64, and it's always at least a day behind your RTI. So it's running down in there about where it finally should for once. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri. 1,900 head through the ring. Another 570 head through their in-house video they do with help from DVAuction. The steer calves are $4 to $8 lower. Heifer calves $2 to $5 lower. Yearlings were not well tested as Ozarks Regional Stockyard, but pretty decent sale there overall. The market was not as sharply lower as a lot of our calf markets were late last week. If you guys are looking for some hard calves, some of those high altitude desert calves like they sell out in Fallon, Nevada, we're going to be selling a ton of them late this week. Going to be going out to help them with the auctioneering. Going to have 6,000. We're thinking probably, or we are going to have a Friday and Saturday sale. We don't get started till noon there, so the California guys have a chance to get over there on Friday. So we'll be selling all afternoon Friday and then Saturday morning until we get done. But be a lot of those really hard calves out there, and a pretty nice offering of yearlings too. Talk about your big sale at Oklahoma, OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma. They had 6,500 for their Tuesday calf sale. Normally, most of the year, the yearling sale or the big feeder sale on Wednesday is bigger, but with the calf run so big right now, the calf run on Tuesday is bigger than the Wednesday sale. They had their Red Angus special on Tuesday. Calves were $4 to $6 lower. It's not that bad, guys. You look at what the calf trends were late last week, and so, you know, they're better. Except, like I was telling you earlier in the commentary, the steer calves weighing under 5.5 that are weaned, had all their shots ready to turn out on wheat, they were $5 to $12 higher than last week's auction. So look at the spread there. You know, now we're talking $15 to $20 there just on the calves that sold this week of additional discount on those unweaned types. And like I said, a lot of them there are many of them $35 to $40 back if they're not weaned. El Reno was our NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. And you look at this automated market report. Now this is all the calves put together, but what impressed me was the weighted averages were mostly higher this week than last week, and that was after the big sell-off on last Thursday's feeder cattle board. How about 555 head of 4-weight steer calves in El Reno? The average 455 with a weighted average price of $312.40. That was up $10. 885 head of 5-weight steer calves averaged $546 with a weighted average price of $281.33. That was up over $2 from last week. 732 head of 6-weight steers averaged $636. Weighted average price $247.51, about $6 higher than last week's weighted average. Very impressive there, guys. And the heifers, 731 head of 4-weight heifer calves averaged $448 at $255.65. That was just about $2 off of last week's weighted average on those pee-wee heifer calves, so that wasn't bad at all. 917 head of 5-weight heifers averaged $548 at $239.57, $2 higher than last week's weighted average, and 436 head of 6-weight heifers averaged $642, the weighted average price of $210.79. That was off over $7, but like I said, that's still not a wreck compared to the board losing as much as it did late last week. Going to give you several individual quotes from all around, show you how good the market can still be. How about Lolly Brothers Livestock Market in Macon, Missouri? Galaxy Beef has top quality cattle and they bring them into Macon. They always top the market. How about 66 steers weighed 734 and bring 255 and a quarter there in Macon, Missouri? How about North Platte Stockyards in North Platte, Nebraska? 73 steers weighed 482, bring 327. That's getting up there pretty impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma. They sell 76 steer calves, weighed 610 and bring 280. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.